Hey, welcome back, all. This is ridiculously old news at this point, but this is what happens when you wait all week to do a show. We all know people had trouble pre-ordering the iPhones. The only reason I'm bringing this up, because the problem's supposedly largely been fixed at this point. As a matter of fact, I think all people who were ordering on the day of, as far as I hear at this point, are getting their phones today, so they're getting them on release day. People who ordered between that and the other pre-release actually started getting their phones Tuesday, which is kind of an insult to all those people who were trying to order in the front of the line. But anyways, the reason I bring this up is because there's a sister story to this that didn't really get covered that much, which is the fact that a lot of places aren't getting any iPhones. No AT&T stores have iPhones today, and they won't have them all weekend. I don't know if Best Buy got any. I may have to go down to the Best Buy just to see if they got any. I guess, but there was it was real questionable yesterday whether Best Buy's going to get any. They wouldn't confirm they'd have any. And for some reason, select Walmarts are getting them, but Walmart recommends calling your local Walmart to find out if they're going to have them. The reason I bring all this up is because, does anybody get the feeling that maybe, just maybe, Apple might be trying to force a sellout? And I say that because while the iPad is selling okay, I mean 3 million units is nothing to scoff at. When you put it in the grand scheme of things, you got to realize that that's less than 1% adoption. The iPad is in over 10 countries, and in the US alone there's over 300 million people. So in many more markets than the US, this thing is sold less than 1% of what the projected users are in the US. It's selling, if they sold millions out of hundreds of millions of possible sales, less than 1% of possible adoption. And that number looks even more pitiful when you weigh in the fact that it didn't sell out opening weekend. Opening weekend, and for the most part, opening week in most places, with very few exceptions, you could go buy iPads. Eventually it sold out, because since it wasn't selling up, nobody got restocked until they were sold out. It's like, we're not stocking anyone until they've sold out. They have to sell out. Then we'll wait a few weeks, then we'll restock. And we're going to get some big supply issue, as opposed to an actual sellout. We have to make it look as much like a sellout as possible. And they're selling well now. But you have to keep in mind that of those 3 millions is a lot of things where people went out and bought the Wi-Fi, and then a month later went and bought 3G. So that's one person buying two. In some cases, 4 or 8. We won't name the person who's very proud of the fact that they've bought over 8 iPads, but I want to know how many unique people, because it's, even if you count every single one of those as a unique person, it's less than 1% adoption. So I think the game plan here is just short them and make sure that nobody can buy an iPhone this weekend. Now let's get into why you may not want to anyways. And that is, the iPhone already has a good deal of problems. iOS 4 has some issues. People with the 3G iPhones have had trouble updating. As much as I want to jump on this bandwagon and said, hey, it proves iOS 4 sucks and Apple hardware sucks and everything else, based on the type of errors people are getting, and if you're on the iOS platform, I think you do want to update if you can, because there's a number of security things fixed. There's a number of minor and semi-major issues fixed too. One of the most notable one is, for some reason, WebKit had a buffer overflow thing. Maybe that's why HTML5 doesn't work at all on the iOS things. Maybe with that patched, it will work right. Maybe that's why Apple's still pushing HTML5. I hope so, because it really does need to be able to run HTML5 well. But there were a lot of people who were just getting errors and couldn't sync and other things. I think this is a Windows iTunes issue. I think that's what it is. If anybody knows anyone who did the full syncing process on a Mac who is also having all these issues with their 3G iPhone upgrading to 4, but please let me know. But Everyone I know has an iPhone. It's like, and that's the primary reason they switch over to Android. They're like, I have a Windows computer, and every time I sync my iPhone on Windows, it fucks up. And I have to either drive an hour and a half to the Apple Store, or I have to find somebody with a Mac to fix my iPhone. And I just got tired of doing it, really. Like, I hate it, but they were always welcome to come use the Mac back here to fix it. It's just because they don't like them doesn't mean I don't keep up with them. So, yeah. So there's that. I honestly wish Apple put as much effort into the Windows version of their software as they do their Apple version. For those of you who are Apple people, you need to understand something. When people say Safari and iTunes suck, they're not talking about the OS X version. They are talking about the experience 85 to 90% plus of the end user have with iTunes and Safari. And that is the Windows experience. And these programs were not written properly. The Windows versions of them are not good programs. They aren't. It's plain and simple. Apple fanboys can rant all they want about that. It isn't going to change the fact that the Windows versions of them suck. Now let's get into the real actual problems with the iPhone 4. Now, Crunch Gear has released 4 big problems. When I count, it's 3, and one of them is completely invalid. Again, it's bandwagoning. Say instead of basically they're getting over the fact that it's made out of glass. They're saying, "Oh, I'm gonna drop it. It's gonna break into 50 million pieces. Instead of scratching, it's just gonna break into 50 million pieces. That's not an improvement." Okay, as much as I would love to jump on this bandwagon, Apple did this part right. It's Gorilla Glass. For those of you who do not know what Gorilla Glass is, it's the type of stuff they use in airplanes and helicopters and other things like that. You could take the thing and probably whack it with a 16-pound sledgehammer. You have a Gallagher moment, and you would not break the glass. I can't vouch for the integrity of the seal with the aluminum, but you wouldn't break the glass. So it's very durable glass. It's like, don't think glass like your window pane. Think like the stuff that's your airplane window or something. It's like, no. Now, the next point, though, is valid. I think this is where they're saying forks. They're saying yellow bands and or dots. I think they're counting this as 2 things, even though it's one. Apparently, there is a run of iPhone 4s where there's yellow things in the screen. I guess for some reason that default raindrop theme going on that the phones ship with is causing mold to grow in the screens or something. It's like this isn't an isolated issue. There's bunches of examples on that. People are saying it's quality control. I think it's not so much quality control. This is one of those things that if Apple did proper beta and alpha testing, I doubt it would have happened. I think it would have been caught before it got to this point. But because they don't, it didn't get in. Oh, crap. I've only got a minute left. And the worst problem is going to take me slightly more than a minute to go into. So I hope y'all will join me in one more part. Let's just say Apple has really laid an egg here in an issue from this is not a minor issue. This is you should seriously consider possibly not buying an iPhone issue. Whether you love them or not, you should wait till the next run of iPhones where at least some effort to fix this issue has been done. I will see y'all in the next part and explain what that issue is.